Sagittarius is the sign of the archer. It's mutable fire, changeable fire. The archetypes include the philosopher, the teacher, the guru. Sagittarius asks us to look at all that's going on from a higher perspective, to see the big picture. What does it mean? Now, for a number of reasons, though the sun is in Sagittarius, I have a sense it may feel like it's challenging to make meaning right now. The holidays are coming. It could be a joyous time. And blessings on those of you for who it is, because it isn't the same for everyone. We all have our own experience. And for those of you who are feeling overwhelmed, frustrated, confused, unclear, you're not alone. For those of you who are asking, where is the meaning? And by the way, look over there. Distraction is in the air, is in the sky. So again, I'm going to invite you just to take a minute to connect with your body, to connect with your breath. Traditionally, Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, or Zeus, the king of the gods. We're thinking the wise father archetype. Of all the Olympian gods, of all the gods in the Greek-Roman pantheon, in some ways, he most resembles the Christian God, the big stereotype of a man in the clouds with his billowing white beard and long white hair, wise and just in his decision-making. And Sagittarius does govern things like laws, philosophy. How do we put our ideas together in a cohesive way as a community? How do we make sense of all these people, of all this stuff, of all these individuals? Let's create some laws, some philosophies, some religions. And yet, Jupiter is also certainly known for his exploits, known for shape-shifting, getting in bed with all sorts of women, to the constant vein of Hera or Juno, his wife, dogging on him. In some ways, it's said she is the earthy principle, asking us to ground these philosophies, to ground these ideas. Oh, I see a hole. Is that really what you mean? Sometimes it brings up an anger. Sagittarius can be angry. It's fire, passionate. And also Sagittarius is quick to move on to the next thing because if nothing else, this sign is full of hope. Sagittarius, along with Jupiter, is often associated with Chiron, the mythic centaur, with his horse body and his divine lineage. How do we connect again the earth and the divine? How do we connect what is real, what is material, what is happening, with our ideas, with our divinity? with our sense of connection to the all. Some people say this connection happens through the spine and Kundalini energy. Some traditions have adamantly attempted to escape the body, to spiral out into only the divinity. And yet the materiality continues to remind us to be here in what is unfolding right now. So on December 1st, at the new moon in Sagittarius, when the moon and sun are conjunct at 9 degrees of Sagittarius, let's begin to do a little bit of sorting here. They'll be also loosely conjunct with Mercury. So who's Mercury? God of communication, God of thought, smallest planet closest to the sun, quick, trickster. Mercury, the planet that goes retrograde the most often, and it happens to be retrograde right now, and will be retrograde still on the new moon on December 1st. So what is retrograde? So, well, yes, there's continuous motion in the solar system, right? Mercury doesn't back it up. From Earth, where we feel and where all our senses may tell us we are the center of the universe, it appears that Mercury is moving backwards through the sky. And that's what we call retrograde. And during these times of retrograde, things can feel a little blocked, a little like 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. Frustrating, non-linear. Now, there are some people who thrive in retrograde, just like some people thrive with the trickster. I'm thinking about the clown, bringing some humor, some lightness into these experiences. Because as we're trying to figure out what does it all mean, what is the big picture, how do I fit all of this information that I'm taking in through my eyes, through my ears, through this sensory body? How do I take it all and fit it into some sort of cohesive whole that means something? And then I gotta go 3 steps back because I tripped, and I stubbed my toe, or infuriated this person I love, or spoke wrong, or that idea that I had formed, when did I form it, no longer serves me. And the planet of Jupiter, right, who's kind of the opposite of Mercury, ruler of Sagittarius, as we just spoke about, that large father god in the sky who's maybe turned himself into a swan and is getting it on with Leda over there, is in Gemini, ruled by Mercury. And so these planets are in what's called mutual reception. They're in each other's signs, and they just happen to be in detriment in each other's signs. So they're also like, this is kind of a weird sign for me. And so it's just this magnification of that trickster, confusion, what's going on energy. And again, happening in mutable signs. This is about change, uncertainty, quicksilver, shapeshifter. And so Jupiter's retrograde in Gemini, Mercury's retrograde in Sagittarius, the sun's in Sagittarius, moon's going to be up there at the new moon. And again, these are mutable signs. Let's change it. Let's see what's coming. But that's not all. Everybody who's been watching any sort of astrology stuff, including if you've been watching me, you know Pluto has gone into Aquarius. And so while this month we may be dealing with Sagittarian energies, we may be dealing with all these mutable energies, we may be dealing with, all right, what's next? What's the change? I don't know what's going to happen. For the next 20 years, We're going to be thinking about how is the god of the underworld going to present in the future in community and in our philosophies and how we live together in this Aquarian way. So that's just a big old plonk black drop on top of all this shapeshifter Protean reality. We've got Mars about to go retrograde. So here we have the god of war, the activating force, our willpower, fire, kind of the fatherless son, born of Juno. Now he's got to rethink what he's been doing, thank God. But that's not easy. I know. Rethinking my anger, rethinking my fire. It's like wanting to go for a run, then remembering I haven't run in a really long time. It's really cold outside. I'm on the edge of getting sick and it's rainy. And if I go out and I'm taking these really big breaths of that cold air and running on my ankle that probably doesn't want to be run on anymore anyway. So now I'm rethinking Mars and I'm not going for a run, but there's still this energy. And it's opposite Pluto. And so those two are talking. And Pluto's like, yeah, Sarah, that's not just yours. That's your ancestral stuff. You probably have a father and a grandmother feeling something very similar. And if you look back, it's not just the people who are alive. How do we move forward? How do we express that will and that fire and that drive? Are we going to do it the same way as our parents and our parents' parents and their parents before? I don't think so. I think Pluto in Aquarius is going to say that is not sustainable for living in a community. That is not sustainable for living in a society. Something needs to transform. So we're back to the mutable planets. And it's not just this month in the mutable signs. It's not just Sagittarius. It's not just Gemini. Again, if you've seen my videos, if you've been looking into other astrologers, you know that Saturn and Neptune are in the mutable sign of Pisces, the last sign of the zodiac. So Saturn, 29-year orbit. Neptune, 166-year orbit. Sitting there in the last sign of the zodiac. Saturn went direct last month, so we can feel that a little more. Tightening down. Is your spiritual Piscean vision really workable? When we're working with Pisces, there's definitely addictive, a desire to escape that can come up, which brings me back to the body, back to that Sagittarian discord between what is and what we want. And as Marion Woodman, as I understand it, says, that space in between what is and the perfection that we seek is where the addiction happens. And I'm not just talking about smoking cigarettes or drinking alcohol or heroin. Whatever it is that takes us out of the right now. And right now, Pluto can be really painful. And it can bring stuff up. Stuff that's been long ingrained before even our bodies. Pluto definitely encompasses ancestral trauma. And so as I've been trying to do this video, I've been thinking of Proteus, the old man of the sea, the shapeshifter prophet. And I feel like, all right, what's going on? I'm trying to grab hold of it. And then he's a snake. And then he's an eagle. And then somebody's screaming from the other room, and the vacuum's on over there, and the computer's shutting down, and I'm frustrated. But if we can just hold on, and I think this is the Saturn in Pisces asking us to keep up our spiritual practices. Just hold on as it changes. Not hold on to being the same. What does that even mean, right? To just hold on. And I think it's the practice. It's like, just keep showing up. Keep coming back to the body, to the right now. All right, here we go, right now. Right now it's a bird. Right now it's an otter. Right now I'm getting dragged to the bottom of the sea, and it's bottomless. Because it is going to change. And then change again. And there is a place, and often with crisis, where the ancestral trauma can change and shift as well. And all of this planetary stuff, which sometimes can just sound like a foreign language and what the heck is going on, can be a picture of the psychic crises within ourselves, can be a picture of the social crises within our communities. And untangling the Gordian knot, this is this part of me. This is this thing over here. Oh, now we're talking about Jupiter expanding all the input. That's that feeling where I just want to be in my books, in the television, taking in as much information as possible. Oh, now we're talking about Mercury in Sagittarius. This is the part where I want to be scribbling in my journal, trying to make my manifesto and say it to people, but I'm not really sure what I mean. And by the way, I got to rethink it. Oh, and this is the part where I'm doing it again tomorrow, where I'm writing down my dreams, where I'm taking Saturn in Pisces, Saturn seriously. Neptune in Pisces. This is the part where there's a symphony, as long as I am awake for it. And then coming back to my body, coming back to the whole, coming back to this breath. I've been looking at this myth. It's the House of Atreus. And I mean, it starts with Tantalus. And Tantalus is the son of Zeus, of Jupiter. And the maiden Pluto, she also just happens to be named Pluto. She's the daughter of a Titan. And, because of his divine heritage, but he's immortal, he is extremely wealthy, extremely powerful. He's a king. And he becomes overcome with hubris. He feels really good about himself. And he's like, I am so great. I could trick the gods. And so he invites all the gods over for dinner. and he cooks his son, Pelops. He makes him into this big bubbling stew and feeds it to the gods, thinking they're not going to know. But of course, they're the gods, so yes, they know. You have just fed us your son. And the only one who eats it, because for some reason she doesn't know, is Demeter, right? The god of the earth. I don't know what that means. If you know what that means, put it in the comments. What does it mean that Demeter, mother of Persephone, is the only one that eats Pelops? Put it in the comments. What does it mean? But anyway, the rest of them are like, we're not going to eat this. Gross. And they raise him up. They bring him back to life. They're like, Pelops, we're the gods. We'll bring you back to life. And they put him all together, and he's floating. And Hermes puts, this magic, right? Where Mercury putting the magic into him. We're gonna bring him back. And the fates are like, all right, we'll let you because we haven't determined the time of his death. Oh, he has to have one shoulder made of ivory because Demeter ate it. But besides that, he's good to go. He's whole. Now, Tantalus, on the other hand, is in for infinite torture and punishment. He's sent to Tartarus. He's put in basically a big pit full of water up to here where he's eternally thirsty. And every time he dips down to drink, the water recedes. And then above him hang these really amazing like grapes and fruits and all sorts of just like delicious food. And every time he reaches up to eat it, it recedes and he's perpetually hungry. And on top of that, they curse all his descendants. So eternal punishment and curse on your House of Atreus. So that's how we begin. And for generations in this story, it just gets worse and worse to the point where, honestly, I don't even want to tell it on YouTube. I think if you want to hear it, we need to hold it because it is fucked up. Now, Liz Green shares this in her book about fate and Pluto. This is the kind of stuff, right, that we're working with. And as Pluto comes into Aquarius, it's like, all right, what is this ancestral history? And the last time Pluto was in Aquarius, the Constitution was put into effect in the United States. So that's the time frame we're talking about here. So since that time, what kind of ancestral trauma have we been inflicting? Have we been embodying? Have we been collecting? And what kind of crises, internal or external, is going to help us to alchemize these realities into, hopefully, Aquarius, a future that we want to give to our children? Because several generations down the line, more children have been eaten. Fathers have been killed. Mothers have been killed. There's been all sorts of abuse. And now we have the son of these many generations, and his name is Orestes, and he's walking around going crazy. And that's that mental unrest that could be Pluto in Aquarius, right? It's like, all right, here's Aquarius. It's very mental. It's a human sign, right? It's the water bearer. It's, we think of Prometheus, who created humans and then brought them, magic and prophecy and fire and language. And here it is, the sign of okay, how do we live together as a community and a civilization? And also there's the lightning and Uranus, and we've got revolution, and how are we going to bring this all together? And then Pluto, it's like the Grim Reaper shows up here. And Orestes is right. I'm going crazy. I'm hearing voices. I'm tortured. And he's no innocent. He's been participating. But whose fault is it, right? I mean, he's been participating in this, it's like 4 generations down from Tantalus, who decided he was going to trick gods by killing his son and trying to feed him to him. Makes me a little sick. Which is good. I mean, that's sick. And then it's like, okay, I'm Orestes. I'm going crazy. What do I do? And so he prays to Apollo. And Apollo has given some bad advice so far in this myth, in the past. And you don't know because I'm not filling you in on all the details because it's messed up. But at this point, Apollo is like, you should go to Athena. And she's the goddess of wisdom. And Athena decides that Orestes should go on trial because he did kill his mother. And the Furies, the goddesses of punishment, born out of the blood of Uranus's phallus, after he was castrated by his son, and that's the gods. It's more ancestral trauma, right? So the Furies, the goddess of punishment, have been just dogging his mind, driving him crazy. And they're like, no, we don't want to let him go. You have your trial. He asks for forgiveness. We really want to stick on him. But he's I don't know if proven innocent is what it is, but he's relinquished of his guilt in the trial. Orestes is relinquished of his guilt. Apollo did tell you to kill your mother. She did kill your father. All the stuff. You are this descendant of Tantalus. The curse can end. But of course, the Furies are angry, right? They're like, we want to punish him. We want to punish him. But Athena says, well, no, we'll make you a shrine in my lands and people will worship you. And they like that too. It'd be good to make a shrine to the goddesses of punishment, appease them. That we can end some of this ancestral trauma, ancestral torture. And then there's the just being with what is. And with Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius, Jupiter retrograde in Gemini, and with a T-square with Saturn coming up at this new moon, being with what is might feel like a little crazy. And hopefully it looks like a lot of good creative writing in your journal. Or just talking on the phone with somebody who you trust who's really good at listening. Some Saturn, remember to return to the breath and to your practices every day. To hold on to Proteus while he changes shape. There may be a prophecy at the end. To tune in with your own shape-shifting abilities. To become really who you want to be. And with Mars retrograde, there's a rethinking. Rethinking that passion, that fire, so that we can direct that energy creatively, looking at Leo, to support our families and our children. Cancer. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy new moon in Sagittarius coming up on the 1st. Blessings and love. This is the Cosmic Force.